Have you ever heard the saying, curiosity killed the cat? Well, for Daniel it was about to do a lot more than that. It all started on a dark, stormy night when Daniel, weary from a long drive, pulled up to the only lodging he could find, the dilapidated Grand Majestic Hotel. The receptionist, a gaunt woman with eyes that seemed to hold 1,000 untold stories, handed him a key. "Room 617, she croaked, her voice barely a whisper. But the last guest never checked out. Daniel just chuckled, dismissing it as a local superstition. What a mistake that was. Room 617 was unsettling. A thick layer of dust coated everything, and the air was heavy with the smell of decay and old perfume. On the wall hung a single painting of a stern-faced man, whose eyes seemed to follow Daniel wherever he went. Shrugging off a chill, Daniel unpacked and tried to settle in, but the room had other plans. As he glanced back at the painting, his blood ran cold. The man's expression had changed. The stern look was gone, replaced by a wide, horrified grimace. Daniel blinked, rubbing his eyes, but the terrifying face remained. Suddenly, a sharp knock echoed from the door. 1, 2, 3. Daniel called out, "Who is it?" but was met with silence. He peered through the peephole. The hallway was empty. He convinced himself it was just the old building settling. But then it happened again. Knock, knock, knock. A little louder this time, a little more insistent. His heart hammered against his ribs. He backed away from the door, his eyes darting around the room, searching for an explanation, for anything that made sense. That's when the old rotary phone on the nightstand began to ring. Its shrill, piercing sound cut through the silence like a knife. With a trembling hand, Daniel lifted the receiver. At first, there was only static, a harsh, crackling sound that grated on his nerves. Then, a voice emerged from the noise, a faint, desperate whisper. Get out, while you still can." The line went dead. Panic set in. Daniel fumbled for his phone to call for help, but there was no signal. He decided to turn on the television, hoping the noise would drown out his fear. The screen flickered to life, showing a news report, but the reporter. It was him, a perfect double, reporting on a man who had gone missing from the Grand Majestic Hotel. The missing man's name? Daniel. That was it. He had to leave. He grabbed his bag and lunged for the door, twisting the knob frantically. It wouldn't budge. He was locked in. He threw his shoulder against the wood, again and again, but it was solid, immovable. He was trapped. Defeated, he slumped to the floor, his back against the cursed door. He glanced up at the painting one last time. The horrified face was gone. In its place was his own face, trapped in an eternal scream. The last thing he heard was the receptionist's voice, not from the hallway, but from right behind him, whispering, "Welcome to room 617. The cycle had begun again. Thanks for watching, and whatever you do, be careful where you check in.